Hey guys, it's Key. I wanted to go over some of my setup in artix Linux that I'm pretty happy with. This is kind of for my own future reference, but if anyone's interested in making it look this way, they can kind of copy my setup too. So the window manager that I'm using is DWM. I like it because it's very simplistic. It starts very minimal. You can kind of change it to however you want. So I have my DWM settings under the and the way you get this is you just uh, you git clone it from the Suckless website. So Suckless has a lot of great software that's very minimal. So I'm gonna look in the config.h, and I like the font monospace. It's very easy to read. I set the font a little bit bigger so I can read it a little bit easier at first glance. It's a little small initially, so it's not too bad. I know that there's some bindings with dmenu that I don't really use very often. I know dmenu is this really flexible tool that lets you set up like selectable menus, but I haven't the way I'm used to working. I just don't use dmenu very often. There's that. And I have changed my keys so it's a little easier to press. So I think it might be here. Yes, so I have changed this key, which is normally the super key, which is on the Windows button on most computers. I've changed this to the mod key. So normally there would be super key here, but I've replaced it with the word mod key in order to change it to the alt button, which is to the right of the Windows key. And that's just more comfortable for my thumb. So with my DWM setup, I can change the tags by pressing Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, like so, and which is easier than the Windows button, which is a little bit to the left, so it's a little bit less comfortable. So that's a little optimization I've made there. And I'm not going to press the Alt key for anything. I've really not really found any use for the Alt key, so it is pretty handy. And I've also changed the default way to close a terminal from. So you open a terminal with Super Enter. So I changed that to Alt Enter, and I believe the default way would be Super Shift and Q, which I've changed close terminal to just Alt Q, which is much handier. I don't have to press 3 keys to close a terminal. It's just 2 keys. And I believe I use Alt Shift Q to kill DWM. So I could, if I press that, I think I would kill the OBS recording. So I'm not going to do that. But that would put me back into the default terminal. Let's see. And I think most things I've left kind of like the default, if not with the alt. And I don't think I've changed anything here. So I'm using DWM to create all these windows, and without like the master window and the slave windows on the right. So I find it really easy to move it around. I can press Alt H, Alt L to move them around. I think the default is Super H and Super L, so I didn't have to change much there. There's that, and you can also promote. You can promote windows by pressing Super P. No, that's for DWM. I might have changed that, but it's Alt I. Yes. So Super I, or in my case Alt I, would promote something to the master status. So now I have 2 master windows, and then Alt D or Super D would put it down to a slave window again. And now I can have all 3 slave windows. So very nice. I like this setup because I can open one big code file here, and then I can have one terminal here for running the program, and I can have another terminal for, I don't know, maybe the build scripts. So it's a very nice setup. I like it. It's very good for programming. So having gone over DWM, look at the ST setup. So ST is the terminal emulator by Suckless. I also like it very much. It's very minimal. I like how it takes the colors from X11, which are it's pretty vibrant. There's a lot of contrast between the black in the background and then the bright cyan and the white letters, so it's very easy to read. I never have trouble reading it. It's very nice. I have used Manjaro before, and I'm very used to the default Manjaro settings, but the background for Manjaro is usually a little brighter than I'd like, so I prefer it this way. And so, looking at the ST terminal, I think maybe I've made the border pixels a little bit smaller, to maybe make the border a little bit smaller. It might have been getting in the way before, so I might have changed that. Otherwise, I don't think I've touched very much. I'm pretty happy with the color setup, so I haven't touched any of the colors here. And I don't think there are any, no, I don't think I've changed any of these shortcuts either, because I just don't use them. It might be good to look through them. I'm sure there are some useful shortcuts in here, but I haven't had a chance to use them. Yeah, I'm not sure what these shortcuts are, but it hasn't really bothered me. These are probably for maybe toggling mute, maybe increasing the volume, which are the F1, F2, F3 keys. So that could be kind of useful. Maybe I'll try looking at that. That seems pretty good. But otherwise, not much. It's pretty much the default ST setup. And also, looking back at DWM, you can also look at the xinit RC. So this is how DWM starts. Once you log in, xinit starts, and then it looks in this xinit RC, and then it'll. I have my DWM status bar scripts running in the background, and then it runs DWM. And this line is blocking, so I gotta remember to have the scripts run just before it. So that's how you start DWM in there, and that's how I kind of customize my status bar in here. You can see my previous video on my scripts on changing, making a custom status bar too. That interests you. And after that, the next program I use the most has to be Vim. So I gotta look at my Vim RC. Very nice. So I really like this color scheme, sorbet. It's easy to read, very easy on the eyes, and it makes it really easy to tell apart the terminals from the Vim windows. So I can tell, this one's completely black and this one's a lighter gray, so it's very easy to tell apart. I've worked looking at, here's the syntax highlighting for coding. So no curly errors. Yeah, sometimes it'll highlight red, some curly brackets when there's not really an error. So I've disabled that. And this is for highlighting, I think for assembly files or flat assembly. So if you've ever had trouble with code highlighting in assembly or flat assembly, you can add this line in here. It'll take care of that. I do work with some templating for keylib.xyz. It does work with some templating engine. So the files are h.tt, and this highlights anything h.tt as an HTML file. So that just makes it easier to read. And this is more assembly highlighting. So I think that's out of the, yeah, that's all for the code highlighting. And I think this is a carryover from my old Manjaro system. So I remember my Manjaro system would beep every single time I pressed the escape button. So I would set the, I liked it when it beeped instantly. It's very responsive. So I set the timeout to make the beep instant. But my artix Linux doesn't really beep. So I guess this is a holdover. That's fine though. And this is for the numbering system. So on the left, I can see the current line number, which is 20, and I can see relatively what the lines are. So if I want to jump to sorbet, I'll press 18 up. If I want to jump back, 18 down. So this makes it pretty handy to jump around in Vim. And I like to have, when I'm coding, I like to have 8 space tabs. So that makes it really easy to tell apart the scopes, tell where brackets start and end. And it also kind of de-incentivizes nesting. So if I see code is going all the way over here, it's really hard to read that. And I should definitely be factoring that to reduce the nesting, or like and auto indent, smart indent, that's just for, I believe, when you're coding and there's and then it'll just auto indent for you. So it's pretty handy when you're throwing down a lot of if statements, a lot of for or while loops. It'll just indent for you. That's one less key press. I'm not sure what set mouse A is. Maybe that'll let you have some kind of mouse movement. I'm not sure. I don't use the mouse very often in Vin, but when I do, I guess this makes it handy. And then, and this is related to searching. So this says, I have commented out ignore case and smart case. So I have some settings for searching, but I'm not quite sure what those do anymore. It's been a while. And I have, let's see, Vim commentary. These are my own custom macros. So @n lets me include files really fast. Very simple. @p lets me type a printf statement really quickly, like that. And @s lets me write switch block statements really quickly. That's really cool. And I think I have @c, for condition. So, the if statement macro. So I can write if statements really quickly, write the condition, and then you can write your code in here. So I really like these. These are macros that I've set myself. It's so simple to set them. You just write q, and then if you say you want to record p, so p, and then you say printf, and then you want to move backwards, q again, and now you got printf like that. Of course, I have like new lines in there, so it'll put me on a new line, but it's up to you. Let's see, I've also got, so these are very handy. So when when I just want to throw down a loop, I'll press @a for I, and if I want to make a sub for loop, I'll press @j, and if I want to make a sub for loop, I can press @k. So I can throw down for loops really quickly, instead of having to write the curly brackets and write out the type, all the conditions, and try to remember or to add all three things, which I sometimes forget. That makes it very handy. And I use this a lot too, Vim commentary. This comes from, this is a very popular Vim add-on where it will comment things out just by pressing GCC. So I'll show you an example. If I want to comment this out, if you don't have this plugin, you have to go to the start of the line, press 2 slashes, which is pretty tedious. That's too many button presses, and you have to, it doesn't do multiple lines either. You have to go to each individual line and do it. So if I want to comment all this out, it have to be like this, and then, I'm not doing that. Instead, what I can do, I can highlight everything, GCC, or just GC. And now all 4 lines are commented. It's so easy. I want to uncomment it, GC. If I just want to do one line, GCC. Like so. Very simple, very nice. And I wonder if I have anything in bash RC. Yes, I have some very useful things in bash RC. So the escape key is in a place that's very inaccessible. It's in the corner of your keyboard. I have set it such that I swap the use of escape key with the caps lock, which is in prime keyboards real estate. It's right next to your WASD, so you can just press it really easily. It's very easy to access. So this command, if you put it in your bash RC, it's going to switch the escape key with the caps lock. And whenever I get a new computer set up, I've set this on all of my computers. It's so handy not having to reach that far for escape. So I really like this one. And this is for opening terminals really quickly. So when I'm trying to open DWM terminals, one limitation I've found, if I go into my DWM right here, say I want to open another terminal because I want to edit dwm.c and add a patch or something. Well, if I want to open a terminal, now I'm in my home directory again, but I want it to open it in the DWM directory that I was just in. So if I close that, exit here, what I can do with this macro here, I just press S, it opens it up, dwm.c. And now I have another terminal to work with. I can make this, I can do whatever. It's very nice. And if I want to make two of them, instead I can do 2S, like that. Now I have two more terminals. It's very handy for me. And I also have a 3S, so I can make 3S, like that. Now I have three more terminals to work with. And if I want to, we have also this very handy one where, I guess I don't need to do that. It's 3SD, so if I write 3SD, it opens 3 up, and when I, in most of my programs, I call them, I will do a conventional naming format where the main file is main.c, and I have a build script, knob.c, so I can do 3s development, and now I have all three windows open. I have the code in here, I have the build script here, and I have two windows to work with. This one can either run the build script, this one can look into the file directory, whatever, and it's very, very handy. This is just for opening files really quickly with Vim, so I can open up the code file quickly. I can open up the build script quickly. This is so I can quickly build. So whenever I want to build something, I just have to type to like 2 or 3 letters. So if I want to build this, I guess this is a bad example. So if I want to build this, I just press RN, and that builds it. If I want to build and run it, RNM. I guess we don't really get anything to see there. Which one should I look at? Oh, well. If I type RNSM, it builds it, and then it tries to run it, like so. So RNM is without sudo, because running on something on port 80 requires sudo. RNGM I have set to open up the GDB debugger using the GF visual GUI, and I have then RNSM to run the main with sudo. So that's very handy. And if I want to inspect the hexadecimal, I have this VH. I can VH main, and you can look at the raw hexadecimal of a file, which you can see this is an ELF file. It's very handy as well. These are some of my scripts for quickly syncing. So this is to quickly SSH into my my website keylib.xyz. This is to sync up the build I have on my own computer with the website, which is very handy. I use it all the time. I have these for syncing into my home network. And I also have a few scripts that I don't actually use these very often, but uh, I like to group the directories first in my ls, so I've just had a little alias to format my ls, so the includes and the publics show up on the left and everything else show up on the right. It's just easier to see that way. And I have this lsr to recursively look into the files. And these are supposed to help me look for specific files, but I find that I don't use them too often. So if I want to find a specific file, like find exact file main, yep, I can see all the mains. Find fuzzy file main. I guess it doesn't show main.c. And then I have find exact content, fec main. So these are all the files with the word main in them anywhere in their content. And this is how I shut down really quickly. So I can write s shutdown. And this will put me in shutdown, so there's just a few less characters to press to just shut me down when I'm feeling really tired. There's that too. And I think those are my main config files, so that'll be it for me.